Hello and welcome to another episode of Full Warning, a Team Serious podcast. My name is Roger James.
I'm BC Druid.
And today we are joined by Mike Solymossy. What's up, Mike? How you doing? Can you pronounce your last name for us, please?
Yeah, Solymossy. Or if you pronounce it the way it's actually supposed to be pronounced, Solymossy, but Solymossy is how I do it.
And it's spelled, I remember how it's spelled, because Mossy is actually in the last part.
Yeah, so everybody just calls me Soly. That's something, when I played football, my brother was a couple years older than me, so it was Big Soly and Little Soly.
Okay.
You know, I never introduced myself to that, but it seems a common thing everywhere is to Soly, because
right.
Magic players do it, my work does it. I'm known everywhere as Soly, whether I like it or not.
All right, well, welcome, Soly. Angelo, what's up, my man? How are we doing?
You know, just enjoying summertime, not thinking very much about Magic.
Hot time, summer in the city of Lakewood.
Time for the marching arts, dude.
We were talking a little bit before we hit record. How's it going? It's fun, right?
Yeah, it's fun. It's good work. And then go see some shows.
Working with the different musical acts, whether it's marching bands or I know you're involved with your own
drum corps,
group.
marching bands. You know the deal.
Yeah, the drill.
You know
literally.
The drill. I mean,
yeah,
it is.
My daughter's a little younger yet, so I don't have summer plans. I'm a little jealous, but I'm looking forward to that.
Mike, this is your first time joining us on the show. Full warning. As far as I know, you were never on the Serious Vintage podcast. Is that true?
Not a set podcast. I was on a couple where Jeff would do interviews in hallways of decks we were playing and things at Team Serious Invitationals way back in the day, but nothing set. I think they were a little worried about my language, but I'll tone it down.
I beep everything. I think it's really funny to beep swear words, so normally I beep things. Sometimes I beep things that aren't swear words.
There we go then.
Well, don't make my job harder.
I had to.
It adds weeks to the production timeline.
Each swear word adds, a week or so, probably. It takes weeks.
I'll keep it toned down. You just asked for that specifically right there, though.
So, all right. So, normally when we have a new guest on the show, we give them a little runway to tell us about their magical background and how they got from there to here, basically. So, Soly.
Who are you, and what are you doing here?
Yeah, so Mike Solymossy, I've been playing Magic for 2025, 27, almost 28 years at this point, and I got here because when I was younger, our local store was doing Type 1 tournaments, but Revised had just rotated out of Extended. So I was one of the lucky ones that was buying dual lands as a 13-year-old kid for $8 to $9 a piece. Nobody had Unlimited or Legends or any of that stuff. So it was our Squirrels deck with Gaia's Cradles because they were still in print and Tropical Islands to play Upheaval.
Nice.
I played with Jameson Bryant, who was one of the mid-2000s vintage players, Tommy Collowith, and a couple of others locally. And then right after I graduated high school, found a Type 1 tournament, went to it, got our teeth kicked in because we didn't have any understanding of what a real Type 1 format was. But Tommy and I fell in love with it, got the rest of our group in line. I was playing anything from probably a 4 to 5 hour drive radius that I could find from 2003 all the way till Star City started doing their Power 9 series in 2004 to 2007. Started traveling with you guys in 2007. And when I say you guys, I mean the original 10 Team Serious guys.
Right.
And I've just been kind of intertwined with Tuan and Jerry Yang in the original group ever since.
Right on. So then bring us up to date on the last 5 years of your Magic, because I know kind of you went in and out and you played some modern, different stuff. So give us a little rehash of the last, say, 5 years. Bring us up to date to this past weekend.
Yeah, so I'll actually take you back 10 years because I think it's important. In 2014, I sold my power because I had the opportunity to get out of student loan debt. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think the power would double overnight more than it already did the one time. Who would have thought I would have done it 4 additional times?
Right.
took a little break. And then right before the pandemic, moved to Madison, Wisconsin from Milwaukee.
Okay.
Madison has a thriving modern scene. So I just built modern decks just to have Magic to play. Played Vintage at Champs in 2017. And then essentially took a 5-year hiatus, mainly because the game at that point wasn't good for my mental health. I don't think I have to tell anybody that knows me from back then that I wasn't healthy to myself or other people. Took a long hiatus from it, helped by the pandemic, and then decided after the pandemic that I went back because a friend of mine local here acquired Power.
Okay.
Within the same month, somebody locally started running vintage tournaments. And because I was known as the vintage guy, the first thing 3 different people did was message me and ask if I was going. And they were 100% proxy.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Yeah, it's at the Monovault, right?
Well, originally it was actually at a store in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and it was a cash prize.
Okay.
So I went to that, and then honestly, I kind of just fell in love with playing again because I was really the only vintage old player there. But I fell in love with playing it again, and then my friend John kept egging me on to play more and more, and then the Mana Vault started running events on their own, and it just kind of all fell back in place in 2023, I want to say it was. So I played Champs 2017, didn't focus on Vintage again until 2023. Played Oath in 2023. Hated it, honestly. Just wasn't fun. Not my style of deck. I played it because it was the deck that I thought I could play best, having had such a hiatus.
Right.
And now that I'm playing the format again, I played Demir Luris, Esper Luris, actually, come to think of it, last year. Had a 4-4, 4-3 record before I dropped, so I wasn't in the money, but I wasn't upset at any means.
How many times a year did you play 23, 24? You played 3-4 times a year in paper, but including champs.
Yeah, the Mana Vault, the Mana Vault did 1 event or 2 events that year. Another local store did 1 or 2 events. I don't play on Magic Online. The couple of times that I do test on Magic Online, the way that I do it is my friend Dave Brennan pilots the deck, and I'm watching him on Discord and just talking through it with him.
Okay.
So that's how I've tested on Magic Online historically. I have no desire to go back on Magic Online. I don't think that would be mentally healthy for myself or other people. I'm at least man enough to admit that now. Yeah, I don't really get to play as much, and I just kind of felt like my best years were behind me, which is fine because I still love playing. The best part about Magic is the gathering.
For sure.
You know, some things in my personal life changed, so I had the opportunity to go to your tournament, The Land. Loved it.
Yes.
Great to see people.
Speaking of John, that you mentioned earlier, John Yole that came to the Land, right?
Yes, correct. He was a longtime EDH player. He's actually getting married. By the time you release this, he'll probably already be married because he gets married in 5 days.
Nice.
And I'm his best man. But John, I brought him to the Land.
Nice, yeah. We'll bring that dude around. Very cool guy. He fit the vibe, I thought. So very cool dude. So, okay, so you went to the Land, getting a little more hyped on Vintage. There's another proxy tournament, the second biggest paper tournament in North America. What was NYSE? So top 3, right? North America paper vintage tournaments in the year, right?
Yeah, like I had mentioned previously, something in my personal life, and I'll just be open about it. I got divorced and I have a daughter, but there's different parameters around that because I'm separated and spending time.
So when you have time, then you're like, hey, I got time. So what am I going to do with this time?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, my ex-wife, as much as we didn't get along as partners, is still a good friend of mine, and she's a great mother. So if I had an event that I wanted to go to, I could ask her to swap weekends, and she would, but I don't want to take advantage of that.
For sure.
But it turns out that the Land Run was an event that I've been told about for years. I even played the organizer, Ed Bonar, and I might have pronounced that name wrong, Bonner, forgive me if I did. Played Ed at Eternal Weekend, and then I couldn't make it that year.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been told it's a great run event, and I should definitely go. So when I found out that I didn't have my daughter this weekend, I decided that I would book the flight and make an appearance.
Okay, so we're going to pin it there. We're going to come back to Soly, and we're going to talk to you about the Land Run and how you like your deck choice. We're going to go through all of that.
Absolutely.
We want to bring in Jimmy now. If Jimmy, you can hear us and you got your microphone working. Can you hear us, Jimmy?
Test.
Jimmy, hey.
All right.
Hey, I can hear you.
Very good.
All right.
Excellent.
How's the volume and everything?
That sounds pretty good. I think it sounds pretty good.
Okay.
Wherever your mic is located, it sounds good. So Don't move your head.
Great.
All right. Now I would like to welcome Mr. Jimmy McCarthy. Hey, Jimmy. What's up, man?
Hello. How's it going?
Welcome to Full Warning. Welcome back. What's been going on since you were last on in episode 4?
It's a good question. I've played some amount of Magic, but not very much for probably the last year or so. I don't know. It's been a little slow here in Chicago. So when it came for the land, yeah, I had not played Vintage in like 6 months.
So yeah, this is ostensibly a Vintage podcast, but I invited you on here as the champion of the middle school at the land.
Yes.
And I wanted to give you your own space to talk about it. We had Dwayne on. We talked to Dwayne. And during that episode, Angelo disparaged you immensely. So I wanted to make sure you had a chance to come on and defend yourself. Before we do that, so I do want to check in with you. We can talk about any updates you want to give us beyond what you've given us so far. Any other updates you want to give us since you've been on last?
Nothing too exciting to talk about. I will mention to Angelo, though, I'm pretty sure our match was recorded, so he can disparage me all he wants, but you can go check the tape. We played 12 minutes of Magic before he had to get up and leave.
That was constructed, though, Jimmy. That was constructed Magic, and everyone knows. Everyone knows that Angelo doesn't hang his hat on constructed Magic.
I thought he didn't hang his head on playing Magic at all, personally.
Very bad matchup.
Coming out strong. Nice. All right, Mike and Jimmy, before we get into your respective segments, I want to play a game with you guys. I always like to try to play games, but I never have a chance to set them up. But since this episode I did do a little planning for. So this game is called Is It a Card? This is going to determine which of you is the ultimate smarty guy of Magic. Okay.
Smarty guy.
Well, who's the winner of this episode? So, we're going to determine right now who wins this episode. And I will say the winner will get to choose whether their segment is first or second. So, who wants to go first? Angelo, you pick. Who goes first?
I think Soly should go first.
Soly should go first. Okay, perfect. So, I have a list of 25 card names. I am going to read them off. Mike, you're going to have 2 minutes. I don't think you'll need a full 2 minutes, but you can pass. So when I'm going to say the name, you're going to say yes if it's a card, no if it's not a card, or pass if you want to come back to it. Okay? Got the rules?
Okay.
All right.
So I just say yes, no, or pass.
Correct. And I'm going to mark your answers down, and then out of those 25, whichever of you gets more of them correct will be the winner of this episode. All right?
Jimmy's been playing longer than me, so this is going to be rough.
Okay, he's already making excuses.
Now listen
All
to this guy.
All right.
Worse than Jimmy over here.
All right. So, all right, Mike, here we go. Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
All right. First, I'm going to read them off, and then you're going to say yes, no, pass. All right. Temporal Mastery.
Yes.
Peace Talks.
Pass.
Shadow Elemental.
Yes.
Rowan Treefolk.
Yes.
Blind Vengeance.
No.
Voice of Purity.
Oh,
No.
sassy.
Riddle Keeper.
No, because I think you're thinking Riddle Smith. No.
Thing from the Deep.
Yes.
Dawn to Dusk.
Dawn to Dusk. No.
Oof.
Brute Force.
Yes.
Humpus Wumpus.
No.
Wall of Water.
Yes.
Lightning Mage.
No.
Temple of the False God.
Yes.
Blood Rites.
No.
Frontier Guide.
Yes.
Plague Rot.
No.
Wave of Terror.
Yes.
Enduring Ideal.
Yes.
Invoke Spirit.
No.
Fate Foretold.
Yes.
Pay the Price.
No.
Obsidian Gargoyle.
Yes.
Hideous laughter.
Yes.
Decline.
I decline. No.
And looping back, peace talks.
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, I'm going to withhold the scores till we finish both parties. Did pretty good, though, Mike. Not 100%. All right, Jimmy, do you understand the rules?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to read them off. You're going to say yes, no, or pass. All right, here we go. Riding steed.
No.
Valor charm.
No.
Second sight.
Yes.
Mercy killing.
Yes.
Ancient sphinx.
Yes.
Market festival.
Pass.
Gnawing zombie.
No.
Part water.
No.
Harsh reflection.
Yes.
Apprentice sorcerer.
Yes.
Barrow zombie.
Yes.
Nimbus maze.
Yes.
Scrap golem.
Yes.
Scion of nature.
No.
Kiss of death.
No.
Infernal genesis.
Yes.
Cloak and dagger.
Yes.
Pit fight.
No.
Expendable troops.
No.
White knight.
Yes.
Gin of secrets.
No.
Fiery bolt.
Yes.
Draconic embrace.
Yes.
Savage lands.
Yes.
And seal of removal.
Yes.
All right.
What a list.
I
This
think I
was a
passed
blowout.
on one.
Okay, well, it's still a blowout.
Humdingers.
Yeah, I'm sure I did not do well.
Market Festival, Jimmy.
Let's say no.
No. Okay. One more wrong for Jimmy.
Yeah, I think I got destroyed. My knowledge of cards is up to, I don't know, up through Onslaught. I'm pretty good, but anything post Onslaught, I'm useless.
When Mike was saying that, like, oh, Jimmy's played longer, I'm like, yeah, but like, you read stuff, Mike. Mike, you read stuff, right? Jimmy's
I
not
think I'm more,
reading spoilers
I'm more up to
and
date
stuff.
with modern Magic stuff now. Yeah, the Commander stuff is probably what got me. There was a card you said, Dawn to Dusk, where I was like, oh, that's a Commander card. After I said no.
Here are the ones you got wrong, Mike. You said Riddle Keeper was not a card. It is. You said Blood Rights was not a card. It is.
Well,
I realized afterwards it is. Yeah.
And you said Obsidian Gargoyle was a card, but it's not.
I'm thinking of Obsidian Golem, I bet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Jimmy, you got a lot wrong. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
through it.
That's fine.
Angelo, did you so Ancient Sphinx, Angelo, card or not a card?
Card.
It is not a card. Ancient Sphinx is not a card. Market Festival is a card.
That's a card.
Gnawing Zombie is a card.
That's a card, yeah.
Part Water is a card, Jimmy. Harsh Reflection is not a card. As well as Barrow Zombie. I put
Yeah.
both zombies in there to trip you up.
New cards are just Mad Libs of fantasy word.
Exactly.
Which is like, I don't know which ones they've picked and which they haven't.
Yeah, Scrap Golem is not a card. Pit Fight is a card. Expendable Troops is a card.
Kiss of Death is a card.
Kiss of Death is a card. Yes, that's another one you got wrong. And then we have Fiery Bolt, you said was a card. It is not.
No, definitely not a card.
And Draconic Embrace, you said was a card, but it is not. Okay, so unfortunately, Jimmy, Mike wins this episode. It's early. Maybe you could, I don't know, take it back. But for now, Mike, you are the winner of episode 11.
Awesome. And it's actually, I had to look it up. It's Obsinius Golem is the one I was thinking of, the one from ABU, 6th edition, etc. Kind of looks like it's got 6 horns.
Yes, that's an old school card, yeah. Okay, Mike, so as the winner of the episode, would you like to have your segment first or second? Knowing that I might edit it and swap their order if I want to.
So I'll tell you, I'm a man of few words. I'm definitely not going to take the whole episode talking. And if I let Jimmy go last, you guys will be here till midnight. So I'll be nice and let Jimmy go first.
Perfect. And that's actually the order I had it in the show notes. So good job. You get another gold star.
I'm totally not just switching Jimmy and mine's explanation for this.
I mean, it works for me.
All right. So, Jimmy, we mentioned earlier that we wanted to have you on because you are the champion of the land middle school. So, to set it up for everyone at the land event, as if you have listened before or know about it, we play Vintage on Saturday. That's the main event. But on Friday, we have a middle school event that we play Swiss Plus One. And anyone who's there, if you get there on time, or even if you're a little late, we'll throw you in. But we try to do however many people, we do Swiss Plus One, right? So, Mike, if you had 20 people in an event, how many rounds would Swiss Plus One be?
20 people, Swiss rounds, because multiples of 8, so 8 would be 3, 16 would be 4. So I would think it would be 6 rounds for a Swiss Plus One, right? Or maybe I'm off by 1.
No, that's correct.
No, that's correct.
With that set up, Jimmy, we didn't mention you're winning at all, basically, in our land wrap up. We wanted you to come on to talk about it, or I wanted you to. Maybe Angelo did it on purpose, but I did not.
I did it on purpose.
Right. Okay. All right. So now that we've established the math for the correct number of rounds, talk to us about a little bit about your deck choice. Like you mentioned some stuff in the chat about why you chose your deck. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so like I said, I hadn't really been playing much Magic. We hadn't done any middle school here in Chicago for quite a while. So I was pretty rusty with my normal stable of decks I'm good at. Got my red deck, which I've played a ton. I've got the elf deck, which I've played a lot, but not a year or something. I've got some other decks. I've got the Madness and stuff like that I've got some practice on. But I didn't really feel super confident that I'm going to play the elf deck and play it well, because it does take a lot of reps. It's a survival deck, right? So it's a lot of very fidgety decisions that make a huge difference in your game.
Yeah, the lines.
Yeah. But what I did decide, and I've thought this for a while now, is obviously Chicago and Ohio have very different middle school metagames.
Yeah, so much black. Everyone plays black in Chicago.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 people who literally never play anything but mono black here. And there's other decks that are more or less popular in various areas. For a while here, the Scoreless Enchantress was very popular and did very well. And then for a while, Goblins was really crushing the local tournaments here. 2 or 3 Goblins people would play Goblins and they'd all do very well, because Goblins is really, really powerful, and there's not a lot of decks that really prey on it. And we haven't had people, very few people are willing to play sort of dirtily blue or blue-white control decks or both decks. Obviously, our metagame changes. It's people have sort of put more sideboards toward it, so it's not quite as dominant. But I've noticed that in Ohio, whenever I see results, I don't ever see any Goblin decks anywhere. People just are allergic to it or something.
They don't like the green guys. I
think it's a tier 1 deck. I think it's one of probably the best 3 or 4 decks in middle school. So I decided that, about a day before I left, I decided I was going to play Goblins. And I went and grabbed a totally original list that I made up myself without looking and copying Jaco's last 3-color list exactly.
Totally not copied.
I definitely did not just go look up a picture from a recent event and copy his deck card for card. Yeah, so I ended up playing 3-color Goblins.
He's a good deck builder, right? I mean,
he's a creative deck builder.
It's greedy. He's greedy sometimes.
Yes, he's very greedy, but in a very specific way. He builds mana bases that are very basic heavy, but also play way more colors than you would think is reasonable. But his Goblins deck is pretty good, and I like the sort of multicolor approach a lot, because I think it gives you a lot more room in your post-board games for the handful of decks that can actually sort of mess with you.
Right.
Green for Naturalize, right, is huge. It's like one of the best cards in middle school.
Right.
And then black for a little bit of discard and a little removal. But the big one, right, is that you can wish for Living Death, which gives you big game in sort of, if you're playing like a grindy matchup or a rock or something, where you're going to go back and forth for a while. And in the late game, you can just top deck Burning Wish, and then you bring back 20 Goblins or whatever and murder them with it.
That seems like a good plan.
Forgive me, as the outsider, I have a question. Does the Black Goblins list in middle school play, I think it's called Tivdar's Crusade, the black The
Draw
Goblin
News Crusade is what you're thinking.
Draw News
Some people
Crusade.
do. This list does not. If you're playing green, you generally don't bother because you have Naturalize, which is generally a better answer to Engineered Plague. But if you're straight red-black, most people will have a couple Draw News Crusades as the sort of Engineered Plague deck because you can't remove it otherwise.
Right. So just cancel it out, kind of.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point as somebody that has played a lot of pre-modern in Wisconsin, but not a lot of middle school that I was curious about because there are small differences. I mean, there's big differences in the formats, but there are a lot of small differences in the decks. For example, the Elves deck you mentioned earlier, Jimmy, Goblins, etc. And for any listeners that might play pre-modern, I wanted to just point out that, this is one of those where those differences in gameplay actually matter, which is interesting because that's not any different between what happens in pre-modern, but I never see that card in pre-modern, and I have seen that in middle school lists.
Yeah. I don't see a lot of people playing Goblins without either mono red or red green are the most popular. You don't see a lot of straight red black because, Naturalize is really good post board. And also the Burning Wish package. If you're going to Burning Wish, you really want access to green so you can get something like Hull Breach, which is a big game one card for sure.
So you settled on Goblins because, in part, you felt like it was underrepresented. Did you specifically aim to prey on certain decks, or did you just feel like, hey, people probably aren't that prepped to play against it?
Yeah, I didn't have a specific deck because Goblins kind of beats most things. Even your bad matchups, you can always play Lackey into Siege Gang and just kill people on turn 3. With a 3-color, you've got a pretty wide variety of sideboard options with stuff like discard if you wanted and naturalizes and things like that. So it's a really flexible deck, even in your theoretically bad matchups. And there's a lot of decks that it just smashes with no hope. For example, Elves. I spent a year and a half playing Elves over and over, and at no point could I find a sideboard that could ever beat Goblins. It's just not possible. So there's like definite free buys. Like sometimes you play some nerd playing mono blue with 20 pitch counters, and all of his creatures are just garbage. So you just get free wins that way. It's really nice.
Well,
Jimmy has set up some disparaging talk. He's mentioned Naturalize, I think, 4 times.
I wasn't even thinking ahead to our match, Raja, but we can get there at some point.
He's mentioned Naturalize 4 times. He's mentioned free counter spells. He's mentioned Elves. So who else does he need to disparage of his opponents?
In fairness, the Elf deck was literally my cards that I lent to Andy. So it's a good deck. It just can't beat Goblins.
All right, so then you played against Hockey as well with a 5-color stew, and that would probably had no hope. He was damaging himself too much.
No, he was on green-white. Not quite the Terrageddon, but green-white stuff. I do not have notes on that, but there's a recording of that match too.
I didn't get a chance to get them all up before this, but we will have those matches up on the YouTubes. So it was pretty dominating day overall. I will give you some room to talk about the highlights. Let's talk about, you played against the host named Angelo in round 2. So you played that one host in round 2 and then the next other host in round 3. So talk about those games.
So Angelo was on mono blue Flyers, Sea Drakes, and a bunch of pitch counters. I got foiled and Force of Will and all this stuff. A ton of pitch magic. Pretty sure he has Curiosity in there as a draw engine. But it turns out that trying to put an enchantment on your fragile blue creatures is really tough to do against the Goblin deck.
Yeah.
Because you have stuff like Fanatics and you have Gem Palm Incinerators. And I was playing Jaco's list, which means I also had a main deck Sparksmith, which was the all-star all day.
It is.
That Sparksmith just annihilated people all day.
I'm sitting here just thinking, oof. Yeah, that sounds real spicy.
Yeah. So against Angelo, I played a turn 2 pile driver expecting him to counter because it's pro blue, which he did. And then turn 3, I was able to play a land and play a Sparksmith, which he did not counter or couldn't, one of the two. And then that Sparksmith just turned off half of his deck.
Ate him up, yeah.
It killed a Sea Drake at one point. His cards don't have text anymore if that guy's in play, because I just get 3 or 4 goblins and then I kill all his guys for free while he dies.
Yeah.
Don't have text.
Yeah.
Brutalizing.
It was pretty gross. This deck is very good at finding stuff. It's got a lot of card advantage with matrons and ringleaders and stuff.
I was that out of it. I felt like I was a chill or two away from.
Just two
Right,
chills. He
it's
just
great.
needed 2 sideboard cards. That's all.
Yeah. Well, he played a chill in game 2, and he countered my Reb on it, but I still just kind of made land drops and played a bunch of goblins and killed him. So we were talking. I think his way that he wins that matchup is he plays 2 chills on turns 2 and 3, and then he wins those games easily. And every other game, he's in a lot of trouble.
Sounds about right.
So that was Angelo's deck. I mean, blue versus red. The tale as old as time.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically Finkel versus Garfield, right?
So the blue deck does not have stuff like Delver of Secrets and so on that they have today. They have Flying Men.
You were on a tear, and you went on to play me. I was also undefeated in round 3. So it was a battle of undefeateds. Dragon. I was on Dragon. The abeyance dragon.
Yeah.
So what was your recollection of how that went down?
Small notes. Our games, like our match was pretty fast in that game. I think both games were over by the end of someone's third turn. The game two, we played it out.
There were 3 turns.
Yeah.
There were 3 turns, yeah.
Yeah. So game 1, I had a lackey, and I chose to put in a war chief, despite having a siege gang in hand, because that let me play a follow-up matron that turn, which got me a pile driver. And then the next turn, I was able to cast a pile driver, attack with all my guys, which hit you for enough damage that it presented lethal, put in a siege gang, and pass with 2 mana up on my third turn.
Yes.
So you were forced to try to animate the dragon, and with the dragon in play and the trigger on the stack, I then cycled a Gem Palm Incinerator and killed your 7/7, and then all your permanents died, and then you were dead.
It's something to watch out for.
Yeah. It's not like you could really play around that. And it was sort of the best possible draw for me, right? Where I have
It was great. It was great.
I think turn 4 lethal with 8 goblins in play and 2 mana open.
It was great. I did high five Jimmy after that.
I was just going to say, I didn't have getting my World Gorger Dragon effectively stifled against goblins on the bingo card for today.
So that was game 1. That was the best possible draws. I couldn't stack my deck better than that, basically.
I did not read that. Like I was just like, oh, here's 1 card. I'm going. I mean, I'm going for it. I should be able to win.
Oh, yeah.
I should be able to win.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty worried, but I drew the land on turn 3 so I could play the pile driver and keep the mana open.
Yeah.
So then game 2, we sideboarded. I had a little bit slower hand where I played like a fanatic. I played not much, and I passed on, I want to say, the third turn with 2 or 3 mana open. And Raja played his 4th mana source, and he looked at his hand, and he just animated the dragon. And I naturalized the animate and exiled all his permanents.
I was sad again.
Yeah, after the game, he showed me the abeyance that was in his hand castable that he just declined to cast because he thought, what could happen?
Extra sad. Yeah, I was extra sad because he hadn't shown any green cards, and I'm like, oh, it's just red goblins. That's fine. Whatever. And he had a green fetch land, but I mean, that deck plays green fetch land and a black fetch land, right? So
true.
And I don't think you had 3 cards. I think you had 1 card again.
In game 2, I had a couple cards because I hadn't played much. I didn't have a lackey or anything. So I had 3 cards in hand because I didn't really play any cards for a while. Once you got to 4 mana, once I passed my third turn, I was sort of stuck where I'd have to keep naturalize up forever because you could animate at any time. And lucky for me, you just went for it without playing your advance.
Yeah, I just went for it.
I exiled Raja's board, and then I made a bunch of goblins, and they did goblin things.
Yeah, so I kind of punted, but who's to say? I'm sure I would have lost game.
Who's to say?
I mean to say, who's to say who would have won game 3? But I'm sure I would have lost because you would have been on the play and da-da-da. So I lost fair and square. And then on the way, you also beat Andy, and then we forced you to play another round. You were 5-0. But as we stated at the beginning of this segment, the correct number of rounds was 6. We needed to give everyone a chance. So we almost had to play round robin to just make you keep playing. But
I figured you were going to keep playing out. Someone I was talking to said that Raja told them after the 5th round, they're like, well, if Jimmy wins, we'll be done because I was the only 5-0 after round 5.
I said the exact opposite of that, actually. I said, if Jimmy wins, we're definitely playing round 6.
That's funny. Yeah, I was told that if I won, we would be done. So I won, and then unexpectedly was forced to play another round against hockey on camera. or I beat him. I
You
don't
can
think that
tell
game
we're
was very
boomer
close.
Magic players because we're arguing about playing more Magic.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so there you go. So we have infinite, at least 3 rounds of Jimmy on camera for you that we'll get
Yeah.
up, and everyone can satisfy their appetite for Jimmy on camera.
My other matches, what I played Mike O'Malley on actual Terrageddon.
Okay.
We had some interesting games. Game 1, I had a lackey into a siege gang, so that wasn't very interesting, and he didn't have a swords. But game 2, he played a warmth, and we just both kind of dirtled for a while. I just drew
Warmth is
100
good, yeah.
lands.
Warmth, yeah.
He gained 12 life points off of it. I couldn't get enough going. And then eventually he drew a Terravore, and then with his Zern Orb in play, he then immediately cast Armageddon and sacked
Ooh.
all of his lands, and I sacked my 11 lands in play, and so I died real bad to that one.
Oh, man.
My gem palm was not big enough to kill his like 2020 or whatever.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Come on.
Game 3, he had Warmth again,
Okay.
and then he also had COP Red on like turn 4. But I was playing the Goblin deck, so I managed to play. It looks like my notes I played 3 ringleaders over the course of the game, and I think eventually I was attacking with 14 goblins.
And just didn't have 14 mana.
Yeah, he had 8 mana, so he was taking like 6 or 8, and then I would play like 2 or 3 spells, and he would gain all that life back from Warmth. But eventually I was able to attack for half his life total and present lethal. He was not able to draw his one of Wrath of God.
Oh.
So he went down to that. And then
Mike.
round 4, I played Brother Andrew playing Paul's 10-land Stompy deck.
Oh, yeah.
Which was a really close match, actually. I should have lost game 3, but he made one little misplay, and that was enough. But game 1, I messed up pretty bad, where I knew he had one pump spell in hand, but I didn't think about him having Bounty of the Hunt, the pitch one.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew he had a pump spell. Yeah. And I played slow with my Gem Palm Incinerator, so I locked and then cycled before damage when I should have just done it on my main phase. And he responded to the Gem Palm with Bounty of the Hunt and then killed me, which I was not expecting to happen.
Yeah.
Game 2, I took 4 damage and he died pretty quickly, so it didn't look like he did a lot. He drew more lands than you would expect him to in that matchup.
Yeah, I walked by, he had 5 lands in half his lands. He did get unlucky, I remember, yeah.
He did, yeah. Game 3, he drew a couple more lands, but he played some guys and we raced back and forth for a little bit. And then I was able to basically present enough goblins that it looks like he went from 12 to 18 to 6 to 0. So I was able to get like a pile driver attack or something in and just end the game at 4 life after taking a bunch of damage from random green monsters. I played elves, which, it's elves, so I don't have any notes, but the match was not very close.
Yeah.
Then I played hockey on camera in the last round.
Yeah.
Which
his deck has a painful mana base, so I'm sure that was not super exciting.
Yeah, our match wasn't real close. The Terrageddon match was much closer. I lost 2 games. I lost 1 to Stompy. I lost 1 to Mike on Terrageddon. But my other matches were all 2-0. So that played pretty well.
Nice. Well, congratulations to you, Jimmy, the Land 6 middle school champion.
Yep. Thank you. It's my record at the Land is usually pretty bad in both formats, so this was nice.
Yeah.
And Vintage, I went 2-3 or something like that. Despite playing 71 of the 75 as Dwayne, who won the event, I guess his smelting vats were just much better than my choices.
You know what? He's a more devoted Mishra disciple than you are.
It's true, yeah. He deserves the Mishra's Workshop win much more than I would.
Yeah. Speaking of vintage, Soly, I want to bring you back in. I'm going to turn the reins over to Angelo here. And Angelo is going to run this next segment with you. And he's going to take us through. Well, Angelo, you take over here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to do this a little differently because I don't have a lot of patience. So, Soly land run, right? You went to this big tournament?
I did, yeah. I flew out on Thursday, played the team trios, then played Legacy, and then played Vintage on Sunday.
I know we want to talk about the play, but just that's in Oklahoma, right?
Yes, correct. Oklahoma City.
Did you like Oklahoma City?
Didn't really see much of it, truthfully, but I'll tell you, as far as the event goes, the venue's great. It was a beautifully ran event. The hotel was literally a mile away, so it was like $7 in Uber each time to get to the event and from the event. We had a barbecue. The host invited a bunch of people to a barbecue afterwards, so we went to a barbecue. The food down there was, where we picked was nothing to really shout about, but it was good for what it was. So I enjoyed it. I do plan to go back every year if I can, because it was a great
You feel like you missed out on seeing the city, or are you just happy with the tournament and that's all you need?
Oklahoma City to me is not really a place that I would go out of my way to go see, so I don't think I missed out on too much.
Okay.
Keith was with me. My friend Keith New Year was with me, and he wanted to see a little bit more, but that's because he's a fan of. I'm not a basketball fan, but I guess one of the Bulls, Caruso or something like that, got traded to Oklahoma City, and he was looking for a jersey, and
Okay.
he wanted to see a little bit more. But for me, not really.
All right. I figured it'd be like that. So then the other question I have is, did you win anything?
I got a scrubland for being a scrub and taking 8th.
8th or 9th?
So I took 8th. For some reason on MTG Goldfish, there was somebody that either no-showed or dropped or something. So you'll actually notice that it says 1 through 4, and then it goes right to 6. It doesn't list 5. So MTG Goldfish has me at 9, right? But I actually took 8th.
Okay.
Yeah, I top 8'd the event. I 5-0'd. I drew then with last year's champion on Dredge, and then round 7 I drew with Joe Brennan.
What's with all the draws, man? Let's talk about that for a second. What's the strat?
Essentially, because it's essentially a high dollar tournament, you're allowed draws. The Team Serious guys are anti-draw, but in a high dollar event, you do have to take whatever you can get. And at 5-0,
well, you don't have to.
My Dredge opponent and I were able to draw, and I wasn't even going to suggest playing. And then I was going to suggest playing for seeding, but Joe Brennan offered the draw, and I'm good with Joe. So I figured, if Joe, who's incredibly competitive and very good at Vintage, wants to draw with me, I'll draw. So it was kind of like a friendly thing to do. Whereas I think if it was Eternal Weekend, I would have played for seeding, because I think Joe had 73% breakers. I had 64, and then the next person had like 60. Mm-hmm. I somehow jumped Joe after we drew. I slid into
looks
fifth.
Like you lost to or you drew with one of the winners, huh? A loss to the winner?
I lost to the winner in the top 8. Yeah, I'll talk about that match specifically when it's my turn. But yeah, it was just kind of a strategic thing. Draw, guarantee you get in the top 8, guarantee you at least get yourself a decent prize for your effort there. And honestly, part of it was driven by ego, because I was playing a homebrew, something I designed myself, and I wanted to just get it out there.
I feel like that's a good reason. Like, hey, I got this brew, I have a chance to get published, and it'll be shown in the top 8 of this tournament. Unfortunately, you got foiled because you're shown as 9th. But yeah, no, I feel like that's a reasonable thing. And I will say, I'll point out, this is like 100% conversion rate to the top 8 for Team Serious.
It's a great metric.
We have one entrant.
Brady. Brady
was there. Brady was there. Okay.
And he didn't top 8. So
Brady screwing our percentages up.
All right, so Soly, you had this homebrew. You got Vivi Ornitier coming at us, and I was just looking at the list here, and I'm pretty dumb. So I see Underworld Breach, I see Emery, I see Vivi, I see a lot of cards that draw you cards.
Ask him about Planisphere.
Yeah, what's Planisphere? What was that?
It's Astrologian's Planisphere under Artifact.
Oh yeah, I saw that. You probably throw that on Vivi. Anyways, tell us how this works. Like, what's the dream? What are we trying to do?
Yeah, so let me tell you a little bit of the history. When I played at the land, I had Time Vault Key, because you need to have an artifact that is not tinkerable, or rather not a tinker robot, that you can play off Emery, because there's a small possibility that you mill all your win conditions and you only can win with Emery. So I had Time Vault Key, and then my friend Dave Brennan was about 8 expired beers in, and he said, what about Planisphere? It saw some results at NYSC, and I tried it, and that thing can kick people's teeth in. So it's a 1 and a blue for an artifact that when it comes into play, it job selects. So it's essentially like a living weapon.
A germ, yeah, but it's a 1/1.
Yeah, you make a 1/1 hero, and then it equips to it. And then what Astrologian's Planisphere says is, equipped creature is a wizard in addition to its other card types, which is important because I play one more Flame of Anor than anybody else. And then it has a text that says, equipped creature gets +1/+1 counter whenever you play a non-creature spell and or whenever you draw your third card for the turn, which is a little weird. But essentially, if you land that thing early, it just kicks people's teeth in, which was my game 3, round 4 on camera, where my whole game plan was literally just play Planispheres off Emery, and they were 8 and 10 power by turn 4.
So in that game, the other thing that I saw is that you looped Lotus Petal a couple times after you got the Planispheres into play. I feel like at least once you looped Lotus Petal around with Emery.
Yeah, that match I actually didn't have something worth playing, and I had enough mana to play Dig Through Time anyway, but I felt like I had such good control of that I was just looking for more ways to just speed up the game. So I used the Lotus Petal to give my guys +1/+1 because I had 2 Planispheres in play and cast Dig Through Time, essentially for 1 blue mana because the Lotus Petal was just a recycled petal.
So those get big, and that's on camera, and that was bonkers. I was watching that match actually, and my world was rocked. I did not. Those got so big over. It was only 2 turns, I feel like, or maybe it was 3, but you know they were presenting lethal very quickly.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he Force of Negation. I had Gitaxian probed him, so I knew he had the Force of Negation, and I knew his hand was not strong enough for me to care about Flusterstorm, because the thing that happened was I assumed the deck was more blue than it was and boarded in Pyroblasts and such for game 2, and then he just demolished me as a mono white deck, essentially.
Right.
And game 3, I realized he's playing only probably the counter spells and the big blue cards, which is true. Lorien Revealed, Force of Wills, Flusterstorms, Ancestral, Time Walk, etc.
Right.
Everything else is white. So what I ended up doing was opening my hand. When I Gitaxian probed him, I realized that, okay, he's got a Force of Negation, but if I can protect Planisphere, I have an Emery, so I can go nuts and get Emery card advantage and basically give the Planisphere +1/+1 if I find an artifact. My Thundering Falls milled the other Planisphere. So when I played the Planisphere, he forced a negation, and I said, I have Emery in hand, so I'm just going to fluster this. And then he forced back, and I was ecstatic because I just was going to buy it back with Emery. And that's exactly what happened.
Right.
He was not able to exile it, so they just kicked his teeth in.
Got it. So you were able to fluster the Force of Negation, but the Force of Will on the Planisphere put it in the yard.
Exactly. There's actually a scene in the video where I play the Emery and I pass, and because we've been really friendly. I've seen the gentleman before. I can't remember his name. He goes by Charlotte Legacy League, but I've seen him at Eternal Weekend. We've interacted before, and it was really friendly. So I showed him the cards that were currently impactful by Emery because he was questioning Emery, and I just did that to show both of us and the camera what was relevant.
Right.
I'll tell you, there was a part in that for both of us where Vintage's integrity really did show. So there's one time where I pyroblast a Mockingbird, and what you can't tell on camera is I asked him directly, I said, is Mockingbird still blue? And he said, yes, it is. And that's why I just took him at his word and pyroblasted. Then he read it and he said, well, let's call the judge. And the judge confirmed it no longer is blue. It does take all aspects of what it copies.
Right.
So he let me bring back the pyroblast. Well, I played Japanese cards. So in the next game, I Rending Volleyed a creature, and he went to Fluster, and I immediately said it's uncounterable and let him take his Fluster back, which is actually a really cool thing to do in a competitive event because, you know, we all see each other at these big paper tournaments. We're all friendly, and I can't speak for him, but for me, that would not sit well with me if I had been like, well, it's uncounterable.
I know some guys, Soly, that would not do that. There's some guys out there with no chill that would just let you.
I absolutely know people that won't do that. I think there's a difference between if he just flusters it and he didn't do that before, I probably just let it go, but he gave me the pyroblast back. And honestly, he could have been like, well, you pyroblasted it, but I pyroblasted it off of the information he gave me, so I thought that was really chill that he allowed me to give that back, which was really nice. So that was really chill, but
yeah. Well, and some maturity shown all around, right? Yeah, just, you know, you feel good telling that story now too, right?
Yeah, and I don't want to show up in 3 months to Eternal Weekend, look him in the face knowing I scummed him, and I'm sure he's the kind of the same way. So, I'd rather have that integrity and ride high. We both top aided, so we both got paid off for being cool dudes.
Karma, yeah. Right on. So yeah. Oh, sorry, Angelo. You
No, I was
continue.
just was saying, all right, so that's cool. You played Robin round one, the guy that he's always videotaping stuff when you play him on Discord.
Yeah, Stones League.
My round one made me think that my tournament was going to be short because I won the die roll and I played a Mishra's Bauble, bobbled him and saw Chromock. So I'm immediately like, oh, thank God I'm on the play. It's mono white. And then he played a Mountain and I was like, what is going on? And then I was like, Goblins. Game one, he didn't really have a lot of
Mhm.
threats. Game two, he just comboed me turn 3 with a Goblin Wizard off of a Goblin Recruiter with Conspicuous Snoop in play off of a
Nice.
Cavern of Souls when I had triple Force of Will in hand. He had
Ah,
And then game 3, he played a Null Rod because this is one of these things I don't think I'm going to get away with again. People think I'm this combo deck, but the reality is the deck is designed a lot like Delver of Secrets, where I just have threat redundancy and I just fall into whatever win is available at the time. The Breach kill is there just because Breach itself, buying back Time Walk twice or Ancestral, is
Pretty
fine.
bananas.
And at that point, Brain Freeze is just one card that historically was good when I built the deck because outcome was everywhere. So Breach was just an easy include, but this deck's a lot like Delver. So he played Null Rod and I just ignored it. And I was just Flames of Anor. And I flamed one of his creatures, drew 2 cards, and I drew the second flame. And then I knew the game was over. And then Large Planisphere and a Vivi ended it. And I actually ended it with something along the lines of, I think it was play a spell, force a will it, then Flusterstorm it to get the last points in with Vivi.
It looks like all your matches were 2-1, so you didn't have any resounding victories here, huh?
No, like I said, the deck plays like Delver. It's never very far ahead, but it's never very far behind. And if you watch the top 8, if you do get behind, it's really hard to catch up, though I did have some insane from behind wins. Round 2, I played against Mono White. He kind of got stalled, but he played a Void Mirror in game 3, and I just ignored it completely. And it stopped him because he couldn't Solitude. He actually hardcast a Solitude against me. But I made an 8/8 Planisphere, attacked. He went to double block it, and then I Rending Volleyed one creature. I took the initiative, and then there was one point where he attacks with a creature to steal the initiative. I sink into Stupor the creature back. He recasts it and starts to pillow fort, but he realizes he's at 4 life, and I've kicked down the second door of the initiative, so he's going to die to the trap.
Trap him, yeah.
So I actually beat him with the trap in game 3.
Hoist on his own petard.
Round 3, I played against Dredge. Nothing exciting. I turn 1'd him with the good old Pithing Needle with Void Mirror, or with Vexing Bauble, rather. And then game 3, I had a well-timed Soul Guide Lantern on camera into the Breach kill. This is an important thing. You could have integrity, like I mentioned before, but that doesn't mean you have to coach your opponent. Creeping Chill is a May. My opponent forgot one of his Creeping Chills, and it's not my responsibility to remind him. And as a matter of fact, he went to his upkeep, hit the Creeping Chill, didn't trigger it. Didn't even signal it, right? Like, because if he even signaled it, I would have given it to him. But he didn't even signal. He just completely blew past it. And because of that, he had 2 Creeping Chills in his deck, so I didn't have to think to kill him. And the commenters thought maybe I couldn't kill him, but the reality is I had a Soul Guide Lantern in my graveyard and a Lotus. I could have replayed it because of the Breach kill. Just replay Soul Guide Lantern and Lantern him. But it just made it a lot easier because he had forgotten that. My round 4 was on camera. There was a point where my opponent did ask me, how many lands do you have untapped? I said 1. And he goes, I'll fluster your spell. And I said, pay with Vivi.
Oh, no.
If he asked how much mana I had available, it's a different question, right?
Right.
But that happened. Then round 5 was my best match. It was against Jacob Milchman. And forgive me if I'm pronouncing the name wrong. He's the gentleman that was on the winning team on Friday, won Legacy on Saturday. Outstanding player. Kicked my teeth in game 1. He has a Grafdigger's Cage, which actually is very good against me because it stops my number 1 way to grind advantage with Emery.
Main deck, Grafdigger's Cage?
Yeah, no, he had it in his sideboard, but he boarded it in and it slowed me down in game 2. He also had stock up, which changes the math a little bit because my number 1 way is to just parity spells 1 by 1 with him until I can get ahead with Emery. I don't have my Emerys to get ahead, so I have to resolve stock ups, but he has stock ups to get back in the game. So we go back and forth game 1 and game 2. Game 3, he's short on mana, but has a bunch of cards in hand. And I will never forget this game. It's going to be in my memory forever. I had Merchant Scrolled the previous turn for Flame of Anor. So my hand is Flame of Anor, Flusterstorm, Lightning Bolt. Against his, I think he had 2 mana, but he had a Frog in play, a 4/4 Construct, and 7 cards. I draw Gitaxian Probe for the turn, and I'm going to die soon because at some point he can just mind twist his hand to his Frog and kill me.
Right.
I Gitaxian Probe, and I see Force of Will, Force of Negation, Ancestral Recall, Treasure Cruise, 2 blue cards to support those forces, and Luris.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, round 5 is done. I'm already kind of thinking about round 6, and I find Ancestral Recall off the draw off of Gitaxian Probe.
Okay.
So I think to myself, and I Flame of Anor his Construct and his Frog, and he knows I have Lightning Bolt from his own previous Gitaxian Probe, so he can't discard cards effectively to survive. He thinks for a minute, and he was a little on tilt because it was turn 9 or something, and he had 2 lands. He was just not drawing mana.
Yikes.
So he thinks, and then he force and negations it. So I say, well, it's now or never. And I say that out loud, and then I cast Ancestral Recall. And he thinks in the tank. Now, and he even admits, I don't know why I cared about it, because the only card I care about is Flame of Anor. But he forces back, which allows me to Flusterstorm, effectively doing a 6-for-1, because I replace my cards. He just down 4 cards, and he's down his 2 creatures. So I essentially got the 6-for-1 off of the Flusterstorm, got back into the game.
Sheesh.
Ended up that my Emery plus a Vivi with 2 counters on it eventually grounded through, as well as at one point he taps out for a Treasure Cruise, and I sink into Stupor it just to buy a turn.
Oh,
So he cast the
gosh.
Cruise later, but it just put it back
But
into
you
his hand and
dealt
made him have
that.
to do it
and then-
again.
Yeah.
And it actually got to the point where he was about to stabilize at 1 life, but with Vivi on board, anything I drew that wasn't a land killed him. And then the good old fetch to thin my deck, look at the top card, there's a crowd around us. It's freaking Lotus Petal. I'm like, you should never look. I shuffle, he shuffles, he cuts, and then Moto bugged right back to the Lotus Petal that killed him.
There you go.
And then
Wow.
that was essentially my tournament. And then the final, or the top 8 rather, I got paired against Esper Outcome.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, yeah,
real quick?
absolutely.
So I've never drawn in an actual tournament. What is the tournament etiquette of that?
Quiet flex. I never
So
drawn.
essentially, you look at the standings, and you just have to do the math to make sure nobody can jump you. And the way the math works is there were 13 4-1s and 4 5-0s. So the 5-0s would draw and get to 17 points. And then mathematically, there were only 4 people that could get to 18 points. So because there were 4 of us, we would just draw against each other, which is exactly what
I'm
happened.
asking about for the rules. Is there anything you can't say, or what do you say?
You just say, would you like to draw? And they say, yes. You shake hands and you walk. And if they say no, or they say I played at seedings, you just sit down and say, I'm here to play Magic anyway. So you just jam.
If your opponent says you want to draw, you're not allowed to say, well, did you look at the standings? Or that has to happen before you sit down, or what?
So the standings get brought up before you sit down for your round. Then they go away and you go sit down to play. So everybody has looked at it beforehand. And if somebody didn't, then you have to be careful with what you say. You can't offer prizes or offer splits or anything like that. So it gets to be a little dicey.
Once you sit down, you can't get up and then go look at standings. You're sort of locked in once you sit down. But
And you can't look at your phone again either.
Correct. Yeah. You just offer a draw. And what'll often happen is the people who are at X and O will stand around and wait for standings, and they'll post them, and you'll stand there and you'll look at your opponent, and you'll point at the standings and be like, all right, we both should be in with a draw. Be like, okay, and then you sit down and ID instantly.
So in general, you need to work that out before you sit down.
You don't have to,
Yeah,
but it's
you don't
possible
have
you'll
to,
sit
but
down and ideally, hopefully both players have done the math and know that they can draw. And if one player hasn't done the math, or they're not confident, like Soly said, they'll just say no, and then you play.
What happened
Okay.
actually is that the 4 of us all kind of were around each other because it was a 100-person tournament. So that's not small, but it's not large, right? It's enough where you can all hover. And we actually all had gentlemen's agreement to draw because we're like,
Yeah.
we're all going to top 8. Let's do it.
Yeah, usually at events like that, all the people at XO, or most of them, have been there before, and they'll know the math enough that it won't be a big deal.
Okay, so we double draw into top 8.
Yeah, and then let's round this out. So a little history. I did not test this deck at all. My friend Dave Brennan did and suggested some changes. But what I did to determine the deck was competitive is I just jammed 10 or 15 games against my friend John on Outcome. Well, Dave had played a lot of Outcome on MTGO because Frog had really started overtaking things about 2 weeks ago, but we've been preparing for this event for about a month. This deck kicks in Outcome's teeth if they don't open with 3 or 4 mana on their opening turn, because essentially if I can get under their big spells for a turn or two and set my things up, all I have to do is stop their initial flurry and then my grindiness takes over. 2 things happened. Number 1, my opponent was playing Esper, so they have a couple of more high impact cards. Sensei's Top to smooth out their draws happened. They had Vampiric Tutor and Demonic Tutor to more effectively get their bigger spells. And both games they opened with 5 mana on turn 2. They played it really well, but I also at one point had 3 Pyroblasts in hand with 1 red spell. I had stocked up into Force Will plus Emery, but I couldn't deploy the Emery because it was my only blue card. Then I didn't draw a blue card for turns. So my deck just stalled a little bit and theirs didn't. They played well. And obviously, you have to get lucky and play well to win events. I just kind of hope my luck would have ran out today instead of before the event ended.
Yeah, I
But,
was watching that
he
last
obviously-
match.
Yeah, it was not a good showing for my deck. It was not a good
Well,
showing.
like you mentioned, when you get behind, it is a little bit difficult to come back.
Yeah, and he found Ancestral by turn 3 both games. Once I think was off Merchant Scroll, once was off of Vampiric Tutor, but then he also found the Snapcaster Mage. I believe they were both natural draws. So, you got to get lucky and you have to play well, and he did both throughout the event. So my hat's off to him. Obviously, you have to play well enough to win an event like this.
And to be clear, he was the eventual winner. He was the winner.
And me saying you have to get lucky is in no means a cut to him directly. That's any large
That's his
tournament.
magic.
You won champs, Raj, and I'm sure you admit there were times you got lucky.
Oh, yeah.
If my opponent didn't play that Fluster Storm the exact way I needed him to, I'm probably not sitting here talking about a top 8. I might be sitting about a top 16. It went well for him, and my hat's off to him.
Yeah. Well, great run, man. That's awesome. So, Angelo, anything else you want to know, or what else you want to wrap up with for the vintage segment here?
I guess I should ask this question. Should I play this deck, Soly?
It's definitely different, and that's what I really like about it. Is I like playing different decks. It felt a lot like the Rug Delver run, where I got a lot of points from people not knowing what it was doing. I mean, I had a 65% win rate between the land run and the land. Dave actually had a 64% win rate on MTGO. He had 2 4-1s, he had 3 3-2s, he had 1 2-3. So it's not perfect, but 65% win rate. It's a small sample size, albeit, but I mean combined, we have a really high win rate. And actually, for me, not counting draws, my win rate was actually 85% between those 2 events. Again, small sample size.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it has a lot of terrible matchups. Dredge is iffy because Emery is like 0.5 of a hate piece, but all your other hate pieces are high impact. Workshops. The thing that convinced me to play this actually was the game against Nam, where I literally had Vivi and Mox Jet with Vivi with 1 counter on it versus 2 Scrawling Trawlers, a Sphere, a Crucible, and a Strip Mine. And I won the game without anything other than 1-for-1ing him. So no Buy Force, no Hercles, no Shattering Spree, nothing like that. Literally just a Braid, Steel Sabotage, counter spells, and stock ups to get ahead. So when I won that game, I was like, I have to play this deck again. So it's got some very powerful draws. It has some weak draws, as was emphasized by my top 8. But if you enjoy this style of deck, it's really well thought out. People ask me, why do you have 4 volcanic islands? And the honest answer to that is because I own 4 black bordered ones, but it's also because you can't mill them with Emery. That's why there's some redundancy with my 2 islands having 2 Sink in the Stupors, because if you mill one, you still want to have access to one.
There's layers to this.
Yeah, and Flame of Anor is unreal when every creature you play is a wizard, and essentially I put a condition on myself for the land to not play Lurrus. I said, I'm going to soft ban Lurrus of the Dream Den. So instead, I just put 4 Emery of the Dream Den in my vintage deck.
There you go.
That part is just Lurrus.
Okay. Noted.
So this is probably a good segue, actually, because we have a deck that, is what we would call a serious deck, or I would call a serious deck, a great brew that is about to be shaken up a little bit by some new cards coming out, potentially might change where the deck sits or how it attacks the meta. Some cards might need to change. So what I want to do now is I want to talk to you guys about the recent Vintage B&R that was announced on June 30th.
Oh boy.
And I want to talk about your expectation of what you expected to happen versus what you wanted to see. Those could be different. You want something, but you could also say, my true self knows that this is the expectation that should happen based on data, etc. And then are we locked in, basically? Because there's no changes planned till after Eternal Weekend, right? So I want to start with Jimmy. I want to start with you, Jimmy, on I know you haven't played a lot of Vintage, but I'm sure you have opinions. Did you know there was a B&R happening at the end of June?
I mean, I wasn't counting the days or anything like that, but I know that they happen quarterly or so, right?
When we said in chat, hey, there's a B&R coming up, in your mind, did you have an immediate thought of what you expected to happen?
I thought there was a couple ways it could go. They could ban Lyris, which I think would have been a bad idea for reasons that Justin Gennari has talked about a lot. Because basically, if you ban Lyris, everyone plays Tinker again. And Tinker mirrors suck. They're so boring. They're so opening hand dependent. They're so garbage. I hate them. Lyris mirrors are, by design, both decks are trying to grind to get their advantage, right? Both decks want to play 3 or 4 turns of Magic at least to get the Lyris power. So it just makes for better Magic.
Okay.
I think they should have unrestricted Vexing Bauble because that was a dumb restriction.
Unrestricted Vexing Bauble. So we're shifting into what you wanted. So we're shifting a little bit of what you wanted. So your expectation was no changes, probably, is what you're saying.
No changes. I could see banning Lyris. I could see restricting outcome. Nothing else really makes any sense.
Okay, so no changes in that direction. And did you expect any unrestriction based on the recent non-movements, or you didn't expect that either?
No, I mean, I basically never expect unrestrictions just because that implies a level of foresight and a level of investment that I just don't expect Wizards to put into the format for good reasons. Right. Why would they?
Right. Okay. So your expectation was basically no changes. Maybe they might do something with Lyris. But then let's talk about what you wanted. So now, hey, Jimmy, there's a B&R coming up. And in your mind, in your heart of hearts, what did you want to happen?
Yeah, as far as sort of doable things, I think that Vexing Bubble should not have gotten restricted. I think that was just silly and premature. I think that their explanation was embarrassing. People like to be able to cast their Black Lotus, so this card is restricted. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So I think Vexing Bauble unrestricted would be cool. I suspect that it wouldn't last forever, but who's to say? It's possible that it's more fair in a way that Chalice was not, and more interesting to play against.
Okay.
That would make it more reasonable to have in the format. It's sort of matchup dependent, right? It's really good against blue decks specifically.
Yes.
Not only the outcome decks that have a ton of power, but stopping pitch counter spells is huge, is very, very powerful.
Right.
It's also really good against mono white, of all things. On the play, it just turns off so much of the mono white deck's hands because they can't chrome mox you.
They can't fast mana you. Yeah.
Yeah. And it also really dredge, which, I'm totally fine with because dredge. That deck's lame as hell. It's super boring to play against.
Wow.
It's slow. It takes forever.
Wow.
It's a million triggers. It's a million game actions.
Generating engagement here.
Yeah. It's just taking game actions.
I would like to jump in and say I disagree with the Chalice analogy. I would rather play against Chalice versus the Vexing Bauble 100% of the time.
All right, let's jump over to you then, Mike. Mike, when you heard there was a B&R coming up, what was your expectation of what was going to happen?
I expected them to restrict Stock Up and Lyris just because that's what the heads of the format, the talking heads, were mostly expecting.
So ban Lyris, restrict Stock Up.
Yeah, I was expecting that. It's interesting because Lyris is right where Urza Saga was to me as a Vintage player, where I can completely understand the reasoning for it, and I'm completely fine either way. If we still had 4 Urza Sagas, great. I liked that gameplay, but I completely understand why they did it. I'm at the same place with Lyris. I thought Stock Up would eat a restriction, even though I would disagree with it because I think the card is unique and new, and I'm not actually opposed to having a really strong 4 of in the format. Those were my expectations. Now, as far as what I would like, I actually I'm historically known for saying restrict things all the time, but I actually have 12 or 13 cards with an asterisk that I think should probably be unrestricted.
Got a list.
So you expected those things, and you're saying now, okay, you looked at the list, you have some cards that you would unrestrict. In again, your gut reaction, your first take, was there something you wanted when you heard that? You said, "Oh, I hope this happens."
Yeah, so my dream would be to see paradoxical outcome restricted, if anything. I don't think it needs to be. I think the format's fine. But if
Okay.
they're going to do something, I would rather see that than Stock Up, because a lot of the people that are complaining about Stock Up being so good aren't realizing that it's so good because it's slotting into the paradoxical outcome deck, and it makes that outcome deck so much better. I'd be very interested in seeing what an Oath of Druids deck could do, or a Tinker deck, and actually this is happening now where the Psychic Frog decks are now playing a pair of Stock Ups. I'd be much more interested to see what happens with Stock Up without paradoxical outcome in the format. I also think the play pattern is anemic because your first paradoxical outcome basically says pay a blue mana, draw 4. Your next one says pay 0, add 4 mana, draw 9. And your third one says throw your cards around like a Yu-Gi-Oh player. I don't like sitting here twiddling my thumbs while my opponent's got 17 cards in their hand and still trying to play at an optimal level and insult my time, even though they could kill me with literally anything at that point.
This is for Mycosynth Lattice. It locks up the board against the Collector Roof. That you
More
hate
like
that
it's
when
trying
that
to
happens.
configure the right number to cast 4th Aerolingus for while they have 75 mana and I'm at 13. And that didn't happen, but so I'm not being
Right.
salty about it. But
You didn't play me.
it's not fun. It's not fun sitting there for 10 minutes while your opponent is trying to figure out how they can kill you with their embarrassment of riches.
Right.
I'm fine with the powerful card. I don't
part of
like
the
a
strat.
powerful card that by design just waterfalls that quickly, right?
Right. Okay.
So I would like to see that.
I'll point out that you and Dwayne agree on restricting paradoxical outcome.
Yeah, and then actually going into it, I actually have a dream, which is not what Wizards would do, but I actually prepared for this segment, and I actually categorized cards in 4 sections. Extremely risky,
Holy cow.
controversial and potentially risky, safe-ish, and then why is this still restricted?
Did I just say, do you have a PowerPoint that we should be linking with the podcast so that people can
No, I just
really
went
follow
through and I
along?
wrote it. I wrote it
Can
down,
you
Jimmy.
make a PowerPoint?
The extremely risky is balance and channel. I think those would be really interesting, but there's obviously a risk that a channel deck is just absurd, or a deck with 4 balances brings back a mana drain control deck that just doesn't allow people.
No, that's
the
a ridiculous.
ones,
Moving on, yeah.
The controversial ones would be Narset and Wheel of Fortune. I actually think Narset wouldn't even see play because Luris is legal.
Why is Narset controversial then?
Because in the past, it gave a lot of people feel bads, and I think that it's still recent to a lot of vintage players, because that was, I think, 7 years ago, maybe 8.
Okay.
It's still recent enough with the preordained metagame that people don't like not playing their spells. I think it would be completely fine, but I think that in general, it's controversial to people that played back then.
Okay.
Safe-ish. This one's actually controversial, but safe-ish. I don't think Lion's Eye Diamond needs to be restricted anymore. I think that it would make a combo deck fine.
What?
Okay, fine. Like, discard your hand, Thoughtseize me, lose to a Mindbreak Trap, lose to a Flusterstorm. I have 8 Forcible potentially in my deck. I think Lion's Eye Diamond would be fine. And Merchant Scroll is one where obviously the paradoxical outcome deck would play multiples, but Merchant Scroll would probably be fine. But most importantly on my why is this still restricted is Imperial Seal, Library of Alexandria, Memory Jar, Mind's Desire, Windfall, and then the one that most people think I'm crazy for is why is Yawgmoth's Will still restricted?
I actually agree with that one. So you've given us this list. Now, Jimmy, I'm going to bring in your list from your last appearance, and there's some overlaps.
Okay. Can I stop once more? I have an asterisk restriction.
Okay.
I think that specifically, if we are going to keep Luris around, they should unrestrict Monastery Mentor. But if Luris gets banned, Monastery Mentor should stay restricted. To be honest with you, as somebody that played a lot of Mentor, I'd still probably just play Luris. But I think that
I might play Mentor.
unrestricting Monastery Mentor would skew people away from playing Luris. And honestly, before Tezzeret Cruel Captain was spoiled, I said that if they give Mentor back and leave Luris, they should also give Lodestone Golem back. But now with Tezzeret Cruel Captain, I'm a little bit iffy on that because Fleshraker and Cruel Captain plus Lodestone Golem would be pretty powerful, I think.
Dog. Yeah,
But,
no.
I think there's a lot of
Lodestone,
different
okay.
ways that they can
No
change the format.
Lodestone.
I apologize. I wanted to get that
Yeah.
one out there with the
Lodestone.
Mentor.
No
asterisk.
Lodestone. I would love it. We would all love it, but it's just unreasonable. We talked about it. We talked about where Dwayne was when Lodestone was announced. He
Yeah,
remembers
and
where
the
he
Tezzeret,
was.
It's interesting to me because that Tezzeret is somewhere between being a marginally playable vintage card or automatic anything that has Ancient Tomb because it just gets Vexing Bauble or Chalice.
Yeah, there you go. And then so I'll bring in
Okay, I'm
Jimmy's
done
list
now, I
from his
promise.
last. So Jimmy's list, and the one I'm surprised you did not mention is Necropotence. And is there a reason that you did not put Necropotence on your list anywhere, Mike?
I think Yawgmoth's Will is a little bit more exciting to me, and Necropotence has a higher ceiling than Yawgmoth's Will. Necropotence has been vintage playable in the last 7 years, whereas Yawgmoth's Will is just kind of an outlier. The winning deck list had it in, but people were playing black combo decks without Yawgmoth's Will. The outcome combo decks didn't have Yawgmoth's Will. Obviously, outcome would not have Necropotence, but give Doomsday 4 Necropotence, and suddenly I bet you they would start putting Necropotence back in their deck.
So Jimmy's order, and Jimmy suggested previously, we should unrestrict one card at a time in this order, and then basically tweak based on this. Okay.
Real quick, how
Yeah.
long ago was this? What
This
was the format?
This was April of 2024. This is right
Okay.
after the Ponder unrestriction.
That was pre-Fleshraker, right?
Correct.
Okay, a different format, but the blue decks weren't all that different.
Yeah, so exactly. So
Stock up would
I'm
be
going to
the
have
one
you,
big
you
one,
can
I think.
comment. You can comment if you would change this list, Jimmy, but I'm reading it cuz I basically agree with it.
Yeah,
Merchant Scroll first. That's not
Yep.
going to do anything.
I think
PO
it's fine.
decks
Yeah.
will play one more maybe, right? Any deck that
I
plays
would only play 2, yeah.
2.
Yeah.
No one's going to play 4. So
Nobody's playing that card before they're playing 4 stock ups.
Right. Merchant Scroll first. Then you said Yawgmoth's Will, which I agree with that.
Yeah, you can already play 4, and it's called Underworld Breach, and
It's called
better.
Underworld Breach.
And you can play it with Vivi.
Yeah,
Right. So Yawgmoth's Will. I think that's totally fine. Third, you said was Necropotence. I think that's actually a great choice. And I think that when we're talking about blue deck variety, Doomsday combo deck is at one of the lowest points it has been right now, I
Mhm.
believe. I don't check stats, but I just
the
haven't
Besiege
run
decks
into
with
it.
stock up are pretty popular. They're
Sure.
popular-ish, right?
The Beseech deck is about 2%, and
Yeah.
the Doomsday deck with going into this event was about 6.5%.
Yeah,
Do they play Necropotence, Mike?
That's what I was just going to say. It's split between Luris and not, and Necropotence seems to be in about 25 to 35% of the non-Luris lists.
There
I
you
think
go.
that's crazy because I think you need to maximize your usage out of Dark Ritual, so I
Dark
would
Ritual,
always play Necropotence.
But this is why we should unrestrict it, because now we provide that oomph, right? And now you have a real reason to not play Luris.
And to be honest with you, Necropotence goes in and out of my controversial risky list. I did not include it here because I thought that, 12, 13 cards with the asterisk was enough. And Necropotence, I think, is more scary than Wheel of Fortune. It's more scary than, in my opinion, it's almost up there with Balance as far as it could potentially be fine. The downsides of it, if it goes that way, are so much harder.
Well,
than
and
the
that's
upsides.
why he suggested before Jimmy did smartly. I will say one card at a time, so you could undo this one. But
I did not
we
remember suggesting that, but I'll take your word for it.
we came to it together. The next one, though, let's say we skip Necropotence. I think, and you had this on your list as controversial, but I think it's totally fine. Another 3 mana permanent is Narset, Parter of Veils, right?
Yeah. I mean,
That card-
Hullbreacher exists, and it's just better than Narset at basically everything.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
come
like
on.
I don't care about Narset. The controversial, like I said, was just because I think it's still somewhat fresh in a lot of vintage players' minds, especially because there was an intake of vintage from that 2017, 2016 Eternal weekend from MTGO, because MTGO's got popular in 2014 when Vintage got on MTGO. And then
Right.
it took a couple of years for people to pick up. But I remember at 2017, half the people I talked to in that room were like, oh, I got into it from MTGO. So
Right.
they're playing a lot more Vintage than honestly any of us ever were.
Right.
And I feel like that's just, it's controversial because it's still fresh in their minds. I think the card, I had it in my deck list actually because I was looking for another stock up effect. And I didn't even have it for its plain text. I had it for its ability. And we just
Right.
cut it for a force and negation at the last minute in the main
Right.
deck because we wanted to have the force back in the main. The card would not do anything, but I think the controversy would just be the memory.
The fifth card on the list would be Mentor, when you had that on your list as well, Soly. So I think those, I'm targeting those kind of 3-mana permanents, but you can starting with something like a Merchant Scroll. Previously had suggested something like Windfall. I also want to highlight Angelo's I don't play this format questions. He asked us about Probe. Why can't we unrestrict Probe? So we explained why Probe was bad. Then we also explained why having 4 Soul Rings would be bad. And then Angelo said, okay, but for real, what about Dig Through Time? And I think that's actually a fine thing. And I want to end our discussion on that. What do you guys think about Dig Through Time?
So it's interesting because I would never in a million years find myself with a 4 Dig Through Time deck again. Maybe the Psychic Frog deck, but I think 2 or 3 maximum because there's just so many better cards. But it's another one to me where the potential bad things that come from it significantly outweigh the good things. So I don't think it's relatively safe.
Okay. Not Treasure Cruise either.
Yeah, I'm not a supporter of Dig or Cruise on restriction. I think that in the current environment, I don't think you'd see a lot of people playing for, but that's just because there's a lot of pressure on the very small number of slots you have available in your blue decks. And with something like Stock Up, right? When Dig is good, when you get to play 2, 3, 4 Dig Through Times, and then they find more Dig Through Times, you dig into Demonic Tutor, and then you go get another one, or you dig into Ancestral Recall and Time Walk and stuff like that. It's just so efficient at finding the really, really overwhelming cards and or finding more Dig Through Times. It chains together pretty effectively, sort of like PO does, obviously not quite as well. But on the other hand, you don't have to play 30 artifacts, right, to be able to play 4 Dig Through Times in your deck.
Yeah,
you just play spells.
Dig is scary.
Yeah, I think Dig and Cruise are both much scarier than stuff like Stock Up.
Okay. We're going to wrap up this talk, but the last thing I want to know from both you, Jimmy, and you, Soly, is are they going to need to make any changes as an emergency ban or restriction before Eternal Weekend North America? And will there be a change between Eternal Weekend North America and Eternal Weekend Europe? Because there is an announced change in between those two events. So I'm going to start with you, Soly. Will they make any emergency bans or restrictions before Eternal Weekend North America?
That's a great question. So Luris was, I think, at a 65 or 68% win rate at the land run across the Frog decks and the Outcome decks that played it. So Luris is obviously very good, but historically Force of Will decks have always been good anyway. So I could understand if they did something to Luris, but I don't think they need to. So my answer is going to be the same thing I said before. I'm on the fence where either way that I fall, I'm fine with Luris.
Okay. But you don't expect it?
No, I don't.
Okay, Jimmy, are they going to make any emergency ban or restrictions based on, say, Tezzeret or what you see of the format right now?
Are there any playable cards other than Tezzeret?
Are there any Tezzeret level cards? No.
I don't expect Tezzeret will make enough of an impact for it to matter.
Okay.
Because it is not a prison card. If it were, then you could consider it, but nothing else has changed for months. I don't see why that'd be silly.
That'd be silly.
The next question is, there is an announced change that will take place between Eternal Weekend North America and EW Europe. Will there be a change to Vintage at that time?
How far apart are those events?
Like a month. It's
a month.
Eternal Weekend USA is October 10th, I believe. Then the weekend of Thanksgiving is Italy, and then I believe December sometime is Asia, if I'm not mistaken.
And the announcement, the change will take place at the beginning of November, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be irresponsible to change it unless unless it's like an absolute massacre at NA, right? I think it would suck real bad. It's like, oh, hey, we have this big event and all this cool stuff. And then Europe, for your jams,
Irresponsible.
here's a totally different format. Enjoy, guys. That sucks. That's really lame.
The only way I see them doing it is if it happens similar to what happened at Star City, Indianapolis, Vintage 2007, where 7 decks were Gush decks and then there was a Lone Dredge. If 7 or 8 decks are Luris decks, they might have to take action.
Nah, I think that's fine.
I don't even see them doing it even there, truthfully, because if it is 7 or 8 Luris decks, it will be split between 3 or 4 different.
Realistically, they're not going to make a change to Vintage, but we're not going to talk about it. But from what I've heard,
my guess is Legacy. My guess is there's going to be 6 Reanimator in the top 8, and they're going to have to do something.
Here's the thing. Even with that, the announced date is November 24th. Eternal Weekend Europe.
Week before.
Eternal Weekend Europe is November 27th.
They're
3 days before. They're not going to do it 3 days before.
There's no way they can, because they will not risk, for the one event people travel to every year, risking that they make a banned and restricted announcement after somebody spent thousands of dollars traveling overseas and only has the cards on them for that deck. You know, if somebody goes out there,
maybe you shouldn't play broken cards in your deck then.
But I don't see that happening.
But we're sitting here not even knowing what they might what would they restrict? If it's Luris players, they'd have a big problem on their hands.
That would be the funniest
Luris players, it's fine. You're good to go. You just got a 74 card deck. Yeah, your deck might be stronger if you had some 3-drops, but it's not like your deck is illegal. You just take out a sideboard card.
Oh, come on.
If they restrict PO, though, those people would be in a lot of trouble.
Come on, Vintage B&R committee. Do the funniest thing ever.
Funny. It would be funny in a chaotic, evil type of way.
Just restrict PO.
And ban Luris.
PO would be evil.
Restrict PO and ban Luris.
So then now what?
Already in
Why not restrict Jewel while we're at it?
We're only talking about playable cards here, Angelo.
Okay, so let's agree. Let's agree that they're probably not going to make any changes to Vintage in the next B&R either, based on when it's announced. So then let's further agree they should unrestrict Merchant Scroll at the earliest opportunity. Yes?
I'm good with that, but I think that you would want to look at restricting outcome if you're going to do that at the same time, probably.
I want an unqualified unrestriction. So if it's not Merchant Scroll, then what is it?
Well, actually, if they want something that gives the Vintage players a feel-good moment, even though it's not going to matter at all, then Yawgmoth will.
Yeah,
will.
I mean,
everybody's going to get their panties in a bunch. Give us back Yawgmoth's Will so everybody can spend 3 days trying to break Yawgmoth's Will before they realize that card's time is 2004.
Jimmy, what would be your unqualified unrestriction?
A Will or Narset.
Will or
I think
Narset?
they're both free.
Angelo, which one do you like? Will or Narset?
Yawgmoth's Will or Narset?
Yeah, which one should be unrestricted first?
Man, I think Yawgmoth's Will.
Okay. That's it. So we're exiting this segment. We're all agreed that we can unrestrict Yawgmoth's Will. Perfect.
Perfectly fine.
Soonest opportunity. Take note. Anyone
Wizards,
who matters. Yeah,
Whoever's
Wizards, I know you're listening.
They're
Okay.
listening.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I'm going to take 2 weeks. I'm really hoping that somebody else picks up the Vivi deck and innovates a little bit, because just having somebody else's energy going into it could come up with some new technology.
Yeah.
Starting mid-August, I'll start my Eternal Weekend prep, and I'm guaranteed to be on either Luris Outcome, Luris Frog, or Vivi.
Get
All
Jake
right.
Kelty excited about it.
Doesn't have enough bad cards for Jake.
All right. Speaking of bad cards, this, Mike, you're new here. Jimmy, you've been here before, but we have a segment. It's the most listened to segment of our show. I've done all the analytics, and this segment gets the most
Fast forward directly
plays.
to it.
Yeah. This segment is known as the Swag Corner.
Swag hammer Wow, what kind of swag did you score?
That's so sweet.
This piece is gonna knock your socks off.
Swag. Ooh.
We're just looking for stories about awesome real life cardboard you've seen. You went to the land run. There's a lot of ridiculous people there with ridiculous cards who had the swaggiest deck.
There's a couple that come to mind. The gentleman, and forgive me, I don't remember your name. You go by Charlotte Legacy League. The gentleman that played the Cats deck had Summer Basics in his deck, but more importantly, he has Summer Swords to Plowshares.
Oh, no.
Which I thought was balling out of
Spicy.
control.
He had 4?
I don't know how many he had. I just saw the one, but
I believe there were 3 in the main deck.
Yeah, so I think they were all summer. His summer one was in the board, so I'm guessing if he had one in the board, he was balling with his real ones.
All right, just a side question. Are these dudes, are they shuffling these cards, or are they gingerly mixing them together?
I had my power proxied, but I had FBB duels, and I was bridge shuffling my deck on stream just to tilt people. So yes, we're shuffling these cards.
Most people are not bridge shuffling their summer cards, though.
No, they're not bridge shuffling. I have my deck triple sleeve, so it's a little different, right?
The old Brian DeMars Dorito-shaped cards.
But did they have Dorito dust on them?
Probably not.
I'll never forget this. It was Star City 04, and John Donovan is playing against Kevin Cron, and Kevin's cards were all beta at the time for the most part, and he hands his deck to John to shuffle. John just bridge shuffles his deck, and they just go on with their day. Oh man, Lord. It was so good.
Oh, Lord.
Nowadays, I'm pretty sure you get punched if you bridge shuffle somebody else's deck. And then actually, I'm gonna give myself a shameless shout out because I only had one English card in my entire reruns. I had my modern deck. My modern deck was 100% Japanese Eldrazi Ramp. My legacy deck was 100% Japanese Reanimator, other than the Underground Seas, which were Italian FBB. And then my Vivi deck, the only card that's English is the Game Day non-foil promo Urza Saga, which I am correcting. Actually, I have it in my mailbox as we speak to be shipped out to SK Alters because it tilts me that it's English when everything else is Japanese. I got 4 judge calls for what Vivi does. Right. I got 2 judge calls for what Planisphere does, and I got 1 judge call for Dig Through Time because, little known fact, there is a Dig Through Time from Final Fantasy. But no matter how much you draft that set, you're never going to know it because it's a commander version.
Oh, okay. Okay.
How did you only get 2 judge calls for Planisphere? I guarantee none of your opponents had ever seen that stupid thing before.
They just let you do it. They're like, yeah, tell me how I die. Yeah, tell me
Does
how
that
I
work?
die.
Oh, cool. It just gets +1/+1 whenever you do anything? Sure, I believe you.
Sure,
exactly.
So to be fair, it was an innovation that was an innovation that Dave saw from NYSE. Another team did. I believe the New York team did it.
Okay,
so it's something
some people
that people
pay
I think
attention.
did see. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So it wasn't completely off everybody's radar.
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of people watch Justin Gennari's stream, and he has the Wednesday brews, and I know he's brewed a couple with Vivi, which is why more people. One person actually said he knew what Vivi did because of Justin's stream.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be surprised if other people know Planisphere from watching people stream and whatnot. And Jimmy, I know that you were a big vintage head like I was prior to MTGO. MTGO has changed everything as far as these people's skill level. The average vintage player back in the day was not very good. And I wouldn't say that we were all that great back in the day. It's just that the average vintage player was at a much lower bar back in the day. No offense to anybody that played back then, but the MTGO has made it so some 15-year-old kid probably has played more vintage in the last month than I have in 20 years.
Yeah, no, for sure. The reps and the cycle is really tight.
It's a good format to get into online because you're not buying a lot of new stuff.
And the cards are pretty cheap generally.
Yeah.
Technology moves a lot faster as far as the Planisphere, right? Planisphere didn't pick up too much online, but I have seen it played a little bit online. So I wouldn't be surprised if some people have just paired against it and knew it. So yeah, that would probably be why I've got less judge calls. The Vivis, though, got some judge calls because people don't play standard where it's apparently a house.
Once it's in play, it's pretty unbelievable what the text of that card is. If you started explaining, you're like, all right, I've played 3 spells, so you take 3, and I'm going to generate 3 free mana, and then attack you for 3. It's like, no, you aren't. That's definitely not what that card does.
That doesn't seem right. So we had the Summer Sword, Summer Basics, and then we have the Mike, your own, fully Japanese, except for one card. That's okay, buddy. I know you're going to fix it. I believe in you. That's pretty swag.
Is that the Textless Saga?
Yeah, absolutely is.
I think that thing
why
is-
does that card need
Yeah.
text?
I think that thing. Honestly, I feel like I don't like that art. I think it's ugly. I wish it
Oh,
looked
it's
better.
hideous, but it has no
Yeah.
text, so it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty silly.
There's only
meme.
one part that you have to Japanese out. It's just the title, so that makes it easier. So next, Jimmy,
Yeah.
what is the swaggest thing that you've seen recently?
Like I said, I haven't played a ton of Magic for a while. We did our Beef Bash, which is a middle school event we did, where you were required at all times to have at least 60 power. Middle school banned our restricted list, but Dreadnought was banned because, of course, it would be pretty silly. So after the event, I went and got dinner with Brandon Adams, who was telling me that he's one card away from finishing his global Dark Ritual set.
And it's the foil one from the championships because he offered I'm not going to give the number away. He offered an obscene amount of money and was outbid.
Yeah, there's not a lot. There's 8 of those in the world or something. 4 of them,
in the
yeah.
world.
So they're pretty sought after. But he is saying he's basically completed his global set. So he's been looking for more Dark Ritual related merchandise to purchase now.
Okay.
But that's my shout out for swag is like all of his cards are insane. His cards are all beta everything, foil everything. He has 19 copies of everything.
Yeah, Brandon.
But
Yeah.
the global Dark Ritual is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in. He actually helped me because he played the Vivi deck in one of the Chicago events and gave some notes. But his stuff is absolutely gorgeous. He's got summer basics, summer Dark Rituals. His entire Legacy deck, he's got a foil version for Vintage Doomsday, altered version for Legacy Doomsday, full of alters, full of foils, beta duels.
Many sets of undergrounds.
Yeah, he sold me
Got
my
everything.
FBB duels, my Volcanics, my Undergrounds, my Tundras. He sold them to me
Oh, okay.
this year. So
Nice.
shout out to Brandon and Midland on the
Yeah.
forums. If you are on any Doomsday related board anywhere, he's on it. Yeah, Brandon's awesome.
There's a whole Doomsday Discord apparently.
Yeah. No, I would say he's probably on it or runs it, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've talked about it on Car Rides about what they've discussed in the Doomsday Discord in different lists.
Well, right on. Okay, so
Oh,
go ahead, Soly.
I'm excited actually. Since we're talking Doomsday, I'm really excited. It's not going to be good, but I cannot wait because Doomsday Go is a thing to kill people, but I can't wait to go Cosmogoyf Go and then Dark Ritual Doomsday and then bash somebody for 57.
Cosmogoyf is a cool card. That's a card that I would
Cosmogoyf.
like
All right,
to
well,
play. I don't know how, but
we're
I'll probably play it
gonna
at some
pin that. Hopefully, we can talk about it after KSI. So, Angelo, I'm going to give you my swag real quick, and then you can wrap us up in this segment. Angelo, I wanted to tell you about we were talking about Robin earlier, who does the recording. I played him in the middle school league. He started playing cards. He played a foil card, then he played another foil card, and then he started playing some weird cards. And I can't remember off the top of my head what they were, but the next card was a foil, and the next card was a foil, and I realized that most of all of his deck is foil, and it was actually like. And then so after we played, I was like, so is your deck just foil cards that I own? And he was like, kind of. So he showed me his deck, and yeah, it was just a lot of foil fatties. It was survival, and it was a weird build, but it was just basically the foil cards that he owns that he likes.
That's
So,
hilarious.
It's awesome, actually.
yeah, isn't it? So it was foil fatty survival. It was his deck. I'll get the link to our match in the show notes, and you guys can see it on camera.
So
there.
shiny.
So, yeah. Angelo, I will interview you to wrap this segment up. Do you have a swag corner entry?
I don't, man. I haven't seen anything last couple weeks.
Fair enough. Keeping your head down. Keeping your head down. What's your anti-swag? You got any anti-swag?
Anti-swag? Owning
Yeah.
cards, man.
I can get behind. I can get with that.
I'm trying to get real light.
All right, so we're going to head into our final thoughts and wrap up. Mike, I'm going to give you first crack at final thoughts on your land run, on your first appearance on the show, on life.
The land run's a great event. I recommend anybody that can make it out there tries to. Extremely well ran, extremely smooth, great competition. The food was good. As far as Magic in general, the best part about Magic is the gathering. I'm actually really thankful that mentally, I still get upset. I still want to compete, but I'm not nearly as bad as I used to be, I don't think. It's kind of really refreshing to top 8 and be like, okay, like that's really cool. And then I lose and then I go out to dinner with my friends and things are good. Life is so much better when you don't take this game too seriously.
Right on, man. Yeah, thank you for that. Jimmy, final thoughts on Land Middle School, Magic coming up, KSI, anything you want to talk about?
The land was great. It always is. It's wonderful to see all of my Ohio friends. It's one of approximately 2 times a year that I get to see everybody. That and the Hazard Series Invitational. So it's always a blast, and it's a wonderful event. It's great to hang out. Big shout out, obviously, to Raja for running it, to Nat for Castmaster. I'm convinced that JR kept winning trivia basically by himself, so Nat switched to Castmaster that someone else could have a chance. But I would be on JR's trivia team every year, and he would always win trivia, and I would answer approximately 0 questions.
It sounds like JR.
KSI is coming up. I'm going to try and make it out for that. Someone build a cool Cosmoglyph deck, and I'll play it.
Cosmoglyph Doomsday, Jimmy.
Maybe if I had 4 dig through times, that would be some Cosmoglyph synergy. But yeah, someone build some cool bug deck with Cosmoglyphs and some synergy there, and I'll happily play that.
Bug Cosmoglyph Beans with Murktides.
I know some of those words.
Beans obviously being up the beanstalk, Murktide Regents.
Demonic Consultation.
See, you explained it, Soly, and that ruined the joke. Angelo, final thoughts on the episode on life?
Well, we got in the weeds today. We talked a lot of details about a lot of stuff. This is a masterclass on the mind of a competitive man. Listen at your own risk, I would say.
So you want me to move that warning to the beginning of the show?
Nah, leave it at the end.
Put it wherever you need to put it, yeah.
Yeah, leaving it at the end would be great.
You have been warned. Now that you have finished this episode, you have been warned. Well, you've done it again. You've wasted a perfectly good 90 minutes on Full Warning, a Team Serious podcast. My name is Roger James.
I'm Jimmy the Grouch McCarthy.
I'm Mike Solymossy.
I'm some nerd who plays mono blue and can't beat real middle school decks.
Perfect. Perfect. And we'll talk to you next time on Full Warning.
The new additions, the flavors too delicious. Making moves with Louis Slipperz. Snakes are looking too suspicious. Trying to bite this. Jehst the hypest. Known for smacking up microphone devices and snapping your stylus. Blowing ectoplasm out my sinus. CON's the alliance. Spitting on pirates like itch. Peace to MK and A cyanide. Switch like Einstein. Doing 100-meter sprint. Money talks bullshit. Walks and I'm skinned with worn out souls. But I'll f it. It's all about flow. So I just keep perfecting those. Tit hard like connecting blows and blow sockets, cause they don't know like so solid. This author's an alcoholic, fire water in a tall glass, repping the drunk and disorderly all-stars.
Well, I mean, I asked the important front, like Oklahoma City, cool? No. Food? No. Did you do anything? No. You can stop it right there.